What is up, and welcome to this live edition of Kuz's Corner here on this late Wednesday night here as I sit in a hotel room, as you can tell. But I'm still bringing you guys content. It has been a massive day in the transfer portal for the West Virginia Mountaineer football program. And we're also going to talk a little bit about this basketball game that just ended, which is the reason I'm late. I wanted to recap the women's basketball game against Texas Tech. Boy, was it a really good basketball game to watch. The Mountaineers did what most Mountaineer teams tend to do, and they blew it. But we'll talk about that later. But have to give a hats off to this West Virginia women's team. They played hard, played their guts out. Texas Tech just played better down the stretch. Two really good women's basketball teams who I think have an opportunity to do big things, but West Virginia has some things they need to clean up. But now, anyway, we'll get to that later. The first thing we're going to talk about, and first I want to thank you all for tuning into the show. But what I want to talk about first is the massive day that the Mountaineers had in the transfer portal. In the last 24 hours, some of these transfers actually began last night. But in the last 24 hours, West Virginia has picked up, if my count is correct, 6 players out of the transfer portal, and every single one of them are positions of need. Right before I jumped on here, they got an offensive lineman, which is what fans have been begging for. And then, obviously other positions of need, which we'll get into. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to my VIP channel members. I haven't done that in a few shows, but I want to give a shout out to Big E7375, WVU Fan 13, Freedom, Okie King, Browns and Beers. Thank you all for your paid VIP membership. If you want to be a paid member here on the channel, it's a very easy way to support what I do. You can just hit the join button below. It's either white, black, red. I'm not sure what color it is on your device, and it'll walk you through all the 2 levels I offer, what the perks are, and it's a very easy and cheap way to support what I do if you're able. If you want to support me free, all you have to do is hit the thumbs up button, drop a chat, and subscribe. It's easy to do. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. For all the fans complaining about not getting enough players with P4 experience, several players with P4 experience were added to this team, and some guys with hard edge were added to this football team. Let's go ahead and start off with David, and I hope I'm saying his name right, but it's David Afogho, an edge out of Bowling Green. When you look at David Afogho and what he brings to the table, 6'3", 245 pounds, so he's got the size to play the edge. His stats at Bowling Green: 37 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 6 QB hurries. Played a total of 481 snaps at Bowling Green, so he has a lot of experience at the FBS level. His PFF grades: 66.1 overall grade, a 66.7 grade against the run, a 70.7 tackling grade, so he's a very good tackler, and a 68.1 grade in the pass rush game. Now, what I'm seeing when I look, and as we go through this, you'll notice it. When you look at the PFF grades for these players that Coach Wright has gotten commitments from here in his last few days on the defensive side of the ball, almost every one of them have really good numbers in tackling and in playing the run. I think we're sensing a little bit of a trend here. They want guys who can come up and make stops, guys who can get guys to the ground, just who can play good fundamental straight up football, right? And I think David Afogho, again, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think he brings that to the table. Now, when you talk about the edge rushers, some bad news we also got today, and this kind of ties in, that's why I'm throwing it in here, but it's Curtis Jones Jr. has decided to hit the transfer portal. Now, there are rumors floating around out there that he has been tampered with. My guess is someone who knew him and or a agent or someone got in his ear. Apparently some other school is after him, offering him potentially more money than what West Virginia is willing to give him, and he's entered the portal. Now, most Mountaineer fans will agree that this is a big loss. I have a tendency to agree with that. Not necessarily when you look statistically. When you look statistically, Curtis Jones Jr., he was in his second year, a true sophomore. He's played 253 total snaps in his career. All but one of those, I think, were in this season. So I may as well say this year. Here are his PFF grades: 56.4 overall, 62.2 playing the run, 32.7 tackle grade. He missed a lot of tackles, or at least a high percentage of tackles, and then only 57.4 in the pass rush game. So it's not like Curtis Jones Jr. was playing at an elite level, but he was making some big plays. He made several stops, which means he, stopped the guy at or behind the line of scrimmage. He was, wreaking havoc in the backfield at times. Even if he wasn't making a play, his presence was known. And he was a young player, and he was showing a lot of upside. Seemed like he was coming along well in this Zach Alley defense. And we thought as Mountaineer fans that he was going to be a huge part of this team going forward and a huge part of the building, one of the big building blocks for the team. After all, there wasn't a lot of guys coming back anyway. But we thought he would be one they could depend on. But unfortunately, he's getting in the portal. Maybe the fact that they're bringing in another edge rusher is part of that, but I don't necessarily believe so, because Curtis Jones Jr. was the only edge rusher left on the football team, as far as I can tell. So he knows that you have to have more than one guy, right? So I don't really see David Afogho coming in as a threat. Maybe Curtis Jones did see it as a threat. I don't know. The timing does seem a little ironic. But I think it was more or less somebody else seeing the potential that Curtis Jones Jr. has and going out and trying to get him away from West Virginia. And that would be easy to do because he is a West Virginia kid. He's from Huntington. I'm sure he has a lot of connections in the state, a lot of connections to schools, with players at other schools, those types of things. Some of the schools being rumored that are looking to pick him off are not very far from Morgantown. So let's just leave it at that. And it's not Pitt, by the way, not what I'm hearing. I'm actually hearing the rumors are that it's Virginia Tech. I don't know if that's true. It's a rumor, and we know how rumors are. But there's a rumor that Virginia Tech is trying to poach him away, and he can go to Virginia Tech, still not be that far from home, play for James Franklin, and apparently they're offering him more money. At least that's the rumor. But we don't. At the end of the day, we don't really truly know the reason. But I do think Curtis Jones Jr. is a loss, not just because of the stats, but because of the continuity. I've talked a lot about how important continuity is to the football team. For us to sit here and act like Curtis Jones Jr. was not going to be an important part of the team, I think would be false and naive. It is a big loss, in my opinion, because of the continuity, because he would be somebody who could be a leader, someone who could help teach the younger guys, someone who grew up wanting to play for the Mountaineers, which is another reason this is disappointing. And, in-state kid, you would like to see those in-state kids stay in the fold. Unfortunately, does not look like that's going to be the case with Curtis Jones, but at least they have somebody in David Afogho who's going to be coming in and being a solid replacement for Curtis Jones. And look, they're going to have to bring in more guys. You have to have more than one edge rusher. So I expect them to bring in more. And heck, some of these linebackers that they've brought in might even be able to play the edge too. And one thing I will say, Curtis Jones Jr. was only about 225 pounds. He really was probably technically not. You'd like to have somebody bigger playing that edge rusher position. So Afogho kind of, to me, fits the mold a little bit better. But the cool thing about Jones was they had been using him at running back some too. Maybe that was something he wanted to continue doing and they didn't want him to. I don't know. But nonetheless, Curtis Jones Jr. is a big loss, and I did think it needed to be addressed. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the next guy on my list, Kamari Wilson. When you look at Kamari Wilson, the safety coming over from Memphis, he also spent time at Arizona State in Florida. Started his career actually in Florida. Was a top 50 recruit coming out of high school, folks. One of a top 50 high school recruit in the 2022 class. Again, started out at Florida in the SEC. Actually started 2 games as a true freshman at Florida. That shows you the talent level he has. Played in every game his freshman year. Started 2 of them. Had 40 tackles. 1.5 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and a pass breakup. So he did put up some decent numbers as a true freshman at Florida. Second year at Florida, did not play as much. Ended up redshirting. For whatever reason, didn't see as many snaps. He went to Arizona State in 2024, hoping to get more playing time, but was a backup on the 2024 team that went to the college football playoff. Transferred to Memphis, where he played this past year, and he absolutely had a home run year. 72 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, and 4 pass deflections. So a really solid performance by Kamari Wilson. That's a safety spot. And when you look at his size, I actually forgot to write that down, but we will check it out here real quick. But what I like about this, and I know one of the knocks on him is, hey, he didn't play, good or as good at the Power 4 level. But the fact that he was able to come in and play as a true freshman at Florida shows you that he does have talent, that he is a talented young man. By the way, he's 6'1", 210. So a safety with length, over 6 foot tall, decent length, decent size for a safety. And he's someone who can come up and flat out lay a hit. There's some highlights of him on floating around on YouTube and on the internet to show you just how hard he can hit people. So I think he's going to fit the mold of what you want in a safety, a headhunter safety. Maybe he can be the guy who replaces Fred Perry. I don't know. I don't know what the staff's plans for him are. But again, killed it at Memphis. I'm sure his Power 4 experience first time around didn't go as well as he'd hoped. He has a chance to redeem himself, so I have a feeling he's going to come in and play with a chip on his shoulder, which is what you want in these guys. Looks like he has 1 year of eligibility left, so he's going to provide an experienced body in that room and on that team. I've talked about at previous shows all the young guys they're bringing in. This is a guy they're bringing in with experience who can be a veteran presence. His PFF grades are actually pretty good from last year. 73.8 overall grade, 75.1 stopping the run, 61.2 tackle grade, and a 73.7 or 8, can't tell what that is. Nonetheless, about a 74 coverage grade. So he graded out pretty well in all areas that you want to see him grade out well in. As a safety, I think it's a very important piece. We all know the secondary was depleted due to graduation and the transfer portal. So very excited to see Kamari Wilson, yet another player with Power 4 experience, 3 years of it, as a matter of fact, coming in to Morgantown. Now, the next one on my list, this is a guy with some hard edge right here. Tyler Stalski, coming in from Florida Atlantic University, also spent a couple years at Minnesota. Middle linebacker, 6'3", 225. This might explain one of the reasons Ben Bogle was leaving the team. We already know they brought in Isaiah Patterson from UNLV. Now you have Tyler Stalski from FAU, who can also play that middle linebacker spot. Here are his numbers from last season at FAU. 86 tackles, 2 sacks. So a really solid year there, especially tackling. And before that, he played almost 200 snaps of football at Minnesota in the Big Ten. So he, again, Power 4, 2 years of Power 4 experience. His PFF grades last season, 62.6 overall on defense, 66.5 run grade, which is above average, 64.9 tackle grade, which is above average, 64.4 rush grade, above average, only 54.6 in coverage, which you want to see improve. But again, he's a middle linebacker. They're not known for being good cover people. And most middle linebackers are not going to grade out well in that area. Now, you do want to see him improve in it because he will have to cover some tight ends, maybe even some slots, some running backs out of the backfield, whatnot. But, man, tackles well, plays the run well, helps good at stopping the run, somebody you want. And here's what's really even more cool about him. There's a picture floating around of him online. As a matter of fact, I put it on the thumbnail of this show. He broke his arm or his hand. I think it was his hand last season at Florida Atlantic. Played instead of sitting out or complaining or whatever, he played through it. He just throws a cast on his hand and goes out and plays. They call it a club. Threw a club on his hand and went out and played through it, and actually played pretty darn well with that club on his hand. That's a hard edge right there. That's a tough young man. That's a man who fits the mold of what you're looking for to put on the Mountaineer uniform. 2 years of Power 4 experience, lit it up at FAU, going to come in again with a chip on his shoulder to prove he can play at the Power 4 level, and I love it. I like it. What's up, guys? I'm going to get to the chat in a minute. I'm not ignoring y'all, I promise. I will get there. All right, now, next guy on my list, Andrew Powdrell from UNLV. This one doesn't have P4 experience, but when you look at what he did at UNLV, it's pretty good. He's a cornerback, defensive back, 5'10", 180 pounds, a little on the small side. But that shows me that apparently they believe he has the athleticism to play at that level. Played in 14 games at UNLV, had 63 tackles, 5 passes defended, 1.5 tackles for loss. And when you look at his PFF grades, let's bring those up real quick. I didn't have them wrote down, but we'll bring them up. Again, addresses a position of need. We also, they were depleted at that position. Now his PFF grades are not quite as impressive. 59.1 in overall defensive grade, 75.8 in run defense, which is good. His tackling grade is 63.8, which is not bad. His coverage grade leaves a lot to be desired, 56.1. However, teams, he gave up only, let me look at here. His NFL passer rating against him was 92.2, which is right around that NFL average. So when you base it on if he was in the NFL playing against an NFL offense or whatever, and you're looking at the quarterbacks that are going against him and their NFL passer rating, it's 92.2. Now, passer rating actually goes over 100. It's not a 1 to 100 system. It can actually go over 100. Most NFL quarterbacks are around that 93 range on average. His quarterbacks against him were at a 92. So, it's not too bad. He was not targeted a ton. He played a total of 738 snaps last season and was only targeted 59 times. So doesn't look like they're throwing his way a lot. Actually, he actually had one game where they did not throw his way at all in 30 coverage snaps. Several where they only threw at him one time. So they're not coming his way a lot in games. And that's what you want to see. They're staying away from him. No interceptions. But, again, was not targeted a ton either. This is one of the players that you're going to look at, and a lot of fans are going to look at and say, not a big deal. And that's fair. His numbers don't set the world on fire. He's not coming from a P4 program, but it's a position they need bodies. They need bodies at that spot. They need depth. He provides depth at the very least. He provides depth. Before he came to UNLV, he played at the FCS level at Montana State, where he was an all-Big Sky performer. I think he was a second-team all-Big Sky player at Montana State. Played well there also. So, he does have experience playing at multiple levels. Can he translate to the P4 level? Obviously, that's yet to be determined, but at least it adds depth. And he's joining his teammate, Isaiah Patterson, who was recruited out of the portal to be a linebacker for the Mountaineers a few days ago. Next, this is the one that happened last night while I was doing another live show, and I missed it. Malachi Hood, a middle linebacker out of Illinois. So another Power 4 player, 6'2", 225 pounds. Another tall linebacker with size, 6'2", 225. He's athletic. He's long. Had 44 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery last year at Illinois. Played 366 snaps and started 8 games for the Illini. PFF grades, a mixed bag. 55.6 overall. 62.9 in the run game, which is not bad. 70.5 tackling grade. So he's a very, very solid tackler. Will get guys on the ground. 51.7 in coverage. Only 58 in the rush grade. And in 2 seasons at Illinois, he played a total of 501 snaps. So good quality experience coming from the Power 4 level. Just, one of several guys that they're bringing in that has that Power 4 experience. Was looking for a change of scenery out of Illinois. He has a chance to come in at West Virginia, has a chance to earn more playing time, play more snaps, prove his worth, potentially even make more money because we know at West Virginia they're paying guys based on how they perform. And if he earns a starting spot, he's going to make more money. Where maybe at Illinois he wasn't going to have that opportunity. Now, the last but not least, what all fans have been waiting for, we finally got an offensive lineman. And not only did we get an offensive lineman, we got an offensive lineman who started games in the Big 12. 7 starts total for Devin Vass. And this one actually happened not long before I came on the air. Devin Vass, interior O-lineman from Kansas State, 6'6", 308 pounds, already has the body, already has 3 years of experience. Now, he didn't play any games his first couple years at Kansas State, He didn't start earning snaps in games until this past season, his junior year. I guess that would make him a redshirt junior, technically, but because he can count one of those years as a redshirt, I would assume. But he did. He played in 9 games and started 7, including the last 7. And when you look at his PFF grades, he got better as the season went on. And that's what I like about him. Now, his overall PFF grades aren't great. And I'm going to read these to you, and you're not going to love them, but I don't want you to panic, okay? Overall offensive grade of 55, below average. Pass blocking grade, 54.9, below average. Average is 60. And a run blocking grade of 52.8, which again is below average. But when you compare that to Kimo Makaniole of last year, his run blocking grade was 40. So this is still an improvement, okay? It's still an improvement. And when you talk to K-State fans, they liked this guy. I actually saw one K-State fan from X, thanks to whoever shared that with me on X. I don't remember who that was. But anyway, there was a K-State fan who said they hate to see Devin Vass leave, that when he came in and they put him in as a starter on that K-State O-line last year, it made their run game a lot better. So he was an upgrade from their previous guy. I think that's a good sign. But what I love about it is his 420 snaps of experience at the Power 4 level, because last year you had Kimo Makaniole, who had played, a handful of snaps at most at the P4 level before he got to West Virginia. And you had Walter Youngbear on the other side starting the year, who had played a lot of snaps, but all of it was at the G5 level. Those two guys, for whatever reason, were just never able to play that well. Never played well. Walter Youngbear ended up getting benched before the year was over for Donovan Haslam, who, by the way, has left for the transfer portal. So West Virginia needed this. They needed a guard who can come in, potentially be a day one starter, in my opinion. Not sure whether he'll play right side or left side, but nonetheless, he could be a day one starter for you because of his experience. You know, he's an older guy. The learning curve should be shorter for him. That's why I like it. And also the fact that if Rick Trickett's signing off on this guy, he probably thinks he's a good football player. And I will accept that because it's Rick freaking Trickett, okay? We ought to start calling him just Rick freaking Rick freaking Trickett. I like that. Y'all like that? Rick freaking Trickett. Anyway, those are the 6, and there could be another one. By the time you watch this show, there could be more. But that's the ones that in the last 24 hours, and I'm doing this live show here on Wednesday night. Those are the last 6 that have come over in the last 24 hours. Thought I would cover those, give you my thoughts on them, talk about what they mean. Again, David Afogho, edge from Bowling Green, feels a need. Kamari Wilson, safety from Memphis, who's also played at Arizona State and Florida, feels a need. Tyler Stalski, guy who played through a broken freaking hand at linebacker from FAU, also played at Minnesota. Andrew Powdrell, from a cornerback, defensive back from UNLV. Malachi Hood, a linebacker from Illinois. And then Devin Vass, an offensive lineman from Kansas State. And by the way, they do have another offensive lineman, a really good one, who's supposed to be visiting Morgantown. I'm not sure if it's public or not, so I'm not going to say who it is, but they do have other offensive linemen visiting. Offensive lineman recruiting, offensive linemen seem to take their time more choosing a school than a lot of skilled players do. They seem to take more visits, go through the process more slowly. I think it has something to do with just, offensive linemen, I think there are a lot more things important to them. Fit's probably more important. Coach is probably more important. Those types of things. What type of scheme are they running? Is it a zone blocking? Is it a gap blocking? Whatever. Those types of things are going to matter a little bit more to an O-lineman, in my opinion. So that's probably why it takes a little longer. And let's face it, these interior O-linemen probably don't make quite as much money. So money may be less important to them as well. But anyway, so right now, if Landon Livingston and Nick Cray stay in the fold, along with Devin Vass, you have 3 offensive linemen who started games in the Big 12 to start off the season. It's a much better place than you were at a year ago when you had only 2. Or no, you had 0. Because Landon Livingston and Nick Cray, neither one's I think Landon may have started one game the year before when Brandon Yates went out with an injury. But other than that, man, they had very limited experience. They have an entire season's worth of experience now. And then Devin Vass does as well. So I like, again, these players still have what, another week before they can enter the portal. So we could lose West Virginia could lose more players between now and the end of the portal window, folks. You can actually sign with teams outside the portal window, which ends on the 16th. You just have to be in the portal by the 16th. So they could go into portal January 16th and go to another team in a month if they wanted to. Now, it's not ideal because you have to enroll in classes at your new school and all that, and the semester will have already started, so it's not ideal, but it is possible. So, fingers crossed we don't lose Nick Cray and Lennon Livingston. That would be massive, massive losses, in my opinion. Even more than any player we've lost yet, to be honest. Even more than Cam Vaughn, even more than Jaheim White. Okay? Now, speaking of Cam Vaughn, in my opinion, they do need to go out and get at least one or two more wide receivers out of the portal to go along with Prince Strawn and DJ Epps, the transfer from Troy. They do have another secret secret visitor that I think fans will get excited about at the wide receiver spot. Let's hope they can land him. Fingers crossed. I hope, assuming that hasn't already been made public. But let's go ahead and get to the chat room, and then we'll talk about the women's basketball game. Thank you all for being on here this late. We've got Lifted Diesel says, let's go, like and subscribe. Thank you, brother. We have Dime Drawer in the house. We have SI018. We have Seymour in the house. Sounds like another below average lineman. Look, man, like I said, his PFF grades aren't great, but at least we're still going to be in a better spot than we were a year ago. And we're going to see progress on the O-line. That's what we want to see. Okay? And let's be honest. The coaching on the offensive line last year was not very good, and that might have played a role in why those guys didn't play well. We are right where we always are as WVU Fan 13. That's fair. We are losing a lot of guys, and it is fair to be concerned about that. He also says 24/7 has WVU ranked 30th transfer class in 2025. We were 30th, 24, 50th in 23, 31st, 32nd, 41st, 37th, 49th. So I wouldn't say we're right where we always were. We're a little higher. Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. But you got to remember last year, they missed on a lot of guys. Let's be honest. They missed on McConaughey. They missed on Young Bear. They missed on a lot of guys. So if they have a higher, maybe because they had less time to evaluate them, okay? Hopefully they can hit on more guys this time. Rodriguez now has a full staff of coaches. They can help him evaluate these guys. Last year he didn't have that. He didn't even have a GM in place last year until, several weeks in. So he was having to negotiate with agents and everything. He doesn't have to do all that anymore. Now he can focus on watching tape. His assistants can focus on watching tape, and he has more of them. So I still think, yes, we're losing talent, and that is a concern. And, yes, they're having to bring in a lot of new bodies, and I've said before that is a concern. And that's why I think we still need to be patient for at least one more year, but I still think we'll see progress. I still don't think we'll be a 4-win football team. Dime George says we're going hard on Francis from what I just read, physical and speed receiver, 6'1", 210. Okay, so that is exactly who I was referring to. I think he was a 4-star recruit, if I'm not mistaken, to LSU last year, and we have a chance to get him. Kenny Evans is in the house, another VIP channel member. Says Rich Roth talked about players playing both ways. Which players do you see doing both? Man, I haven't even had time to think about that. Probably need to do a little bit more research, but I could obviously Matt Sieg, the freshman that's coming in, could do that. I really don't know how many of these guys, what their high school experience was like. As far as these guys go, I don't really know of any. Malachi Hood, 6'2", 225, I could see him potentially being a running back or something. Maybe Powdrell could play receiver. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about. Haven't had enough time to do research. When you have guys coming in this quickly, it's really hard to do a ton of research on them. Ears Link in the house. Jerry Justice in the house. Anyone remember King, who played for Rich? Hand all jacked up, played through it. Yeah, you're talking about Brian King, I assume. He was one of my favorite players at West Virginia. I loved that dude, man. Tough as freaking nails. Made that big interception against Virginia Tech, if I recall. G. Smyrna in the house. According to 24/7, the highest rated player we picked up in the portal so far this year is the running back out of Jack State, the 221 player in the portal. They have him at 87 rated. They only had him as a 221st rated player in the portal when he led the nation in rushing. That's crazy. We have no 4 stars. I'm not listen. It is really, really hard to rate portal players, y'all. I wouldn't even pay attention to those ratings, man. I really wouldn't. It's so hard to rate them because they're coming from different levels. It's hard to judge how good a guy's going to play at a higher level with a different coaching staff. Some of them haven't played a ton of snaps, so it's hard. It's hard to judge, in my opinion. Harder to judge a college player. WV Fan 13 says Curtis Jones Jr. recorded 22 tackles, 1 sack, 2 pass deflections. Not a huge loss, but a loss in experience with our scheme. That's my point, man. That does matter. Experience freaking matters, okay? Experience matters. You come into the season already knowing exactly what to do, knowing how to speak the language. You can hit the ground running. You don't have to spend time in spring camp explaining the system. They're going to have to spend time now in spring camp explaining the system. That's 2 or 3 days less practice they get of actually practicing ball because they're going to have to learn the system, right? Or maybe it's fall camp when they do that. Whatever it is, you get my point. T-Jinx048 says, and speaking of arrivals, have you heard anything new about Taryn Manchild Francis? I saw Voice of Morgantown mention if he was after him, but they seem sort of clickbaity to me. Yeah, they are after him. I wasn't going to say anything because it was behind the paywall where I saw it, but apparently it's already out there. So, yes, I have heard they're going after him. Tootnot says, let's stop hyping any recruits or transfers. Hype equals WVU kryptonite. Yeah, maybe so, man. It's hard. We've been snake bitten so many friggin' times. T. Jinx says, there are so many guys coming and going. You have a running tracker on your website of arrival. We do not, T. Jinx 048. We have articles on every guy, I think, except one. I think we missed Malachi Hood last night somehow. But, man, everybody over at the site, we all work full-time jobs. We have families. It's really, really tough for us to keep up. And I know you're not. I know you're okay with that. I'm just explaining. I'm not trying to make excuses or, want you to feel sorry for us. Just explaining the situation. So, unfortunately, we did miss Malachi Hood. But other than him, we have done articles on every single transfer. Best I can remember. But I do not have a tracker. Maybe we need to do that, but I currently don't. All right. Timothy Green's in the house. What's up, brother? He says we most definitely need more depth in every position. I wish he would have stayed. Talking about Jones. Who are you talking about, Tosh, with Tennessee? I know Vass, I think, was scheduled to visit. I believe it was Tennessee. He was scheduled to visit, if I'm not mistaken. I think Vass was going to schedule a visit to Tennessee. I know it was an SEC school. I'm pretty sure it was Tennessee he was going to visit. And West Virginia, Cam Cook, I know, was going to visit Tennessee. I think it may have been Tennessee with Vass too, but it may have been someone else. But nonetheless, it was a SEC school, if I recall. Ocho 8535, what's up, brother? He says we are back. Not going to go there just yet, brother. But I do like some of these pieces they're bringing in. I don't love them all, but they're filling positions of need. Look, they still need another receiver or two. They need a couple tight ends. They still need help on every position on the D line or defense, especially D line. Have they even brought in a D lineman yet? They brought in the edge rusher. Yeah, they brought in the D lineman from the D2 level. But man, they need a lot more help on the D line. They lost Redwood, they lost Russell, they lost Eddie V to graduation. Devin Grant was only there a year; he's gone. Yeah, they need a ton of help on the D line. So hopefully they can get more guys there, and I think they will. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the women's basketball team. Let's do that real quick before I forget. Women's basketball team fell in a heartbreaking game. 71-66. They actually had a lead with a couple minutes to go. I don't remember the exact time. I'm not good at remembering those things, but they did have a lead late. They let it slip away because they went on a cold shooting streak like most West Virginia teams tend to do. They were struggling to put the ball on the rim. They even had a stretch where they went 3 of 8 from the free throw line. You cannot have that. You have to make baskets down the stretch, and that was that and late turnovers were their undoing. Two killer. I mean, they still, even when they went down late with under a minute to go, they still had two different opportunities to either tie it, take the lead, or at least pull it within one possession. And 2 different times, back-to-back possessions, they turned the ball over. Just cannot do that. When you look at the total turnovers, now they forced 20 Texas Tech turnovers, but then they turned around and turned it over 15 times themselves. So you only win the turnover advantage by 5, and you actually lose the points off turnover battle. They had 20 points. You only had 19 off turnovers. Then you look at free throw percentage. They shoot 15 of 18, 83%. You shoot 12 of 20, 60%. You take the points off turnovers of 1. You take the 3-point advantage at the free throw line. That's 4 points. You lose by 5. Huge differences in the game right there. And second chance points, even worse. Texas Tech gets 20 second chance points to West Virginia's 8. You get out rebounded 37-33, and then defensive boards, they beat you 21-15. Now, West Virginia did get 18 offensive rebounds to Texas Tech 16, but they only converted those into 8 second chance points. Not a good conversion rate. You have to do better than that. You have to make your shots. West Virginia only shoots at 39% from the floor and only 29% from 3. Just they didn't shoot the ball well from anywhere on the court, really, especially the free throw line. And you turn the ball over too many times. That really, to me, even take the rebounding out of the equation. Do a better job making your free throws, and don't turn the ball over 15 times. You turn it over 12 times or 13 times instead of 15, you probably win the basketball game. And you make 3 or 4 more free throws, and you win the game. Bench points, Texas Tech with a 25-2 advantage. Points in the paint, West Virginia actually won that battle 30-22, thanks in large part to Carter McRae. She played a great basketball game. Really felt like she stepped up and played awesome. Blocks, 4-3 advantage of Texas Tech. Steals, 6-4 Texas Tech. Assists, 13-12 in favor of West Virginia. I think I mentioned field goal percentage, 44-39 in favor of Texas Tech. 3-point percentage, Texas Tech shot at 47% from 3. That's too high. You need to try to do a better job to run them off the line. I mentioned turnovers. Yep, I think fast break points, West Virginia wins that 11-6. 15 lead changes in this game. It was an entertaining basketball game to watch, but so frustrating to see West Virginia blow it at the end. Now, this can be a learning experience for these young ladies. Listen, Texas Tech's an undefeated basketball team rated 17th in the country for a reason. This can be a learning experience for West Virginia. The season's not over. They are now 3-1, I believe, in the Big 12. So they still have an opportunity to win the league. You know, that goal is still out there. They have a chance to make the NCAA tournament. That goal is still out there, and they have a chance to make a run. They're only going to get better. They have a talented team. I mentioned Carter McRae. She had 15 points on the night to go along with 6 rebounds. Jordan Harrison played her tail off tonight, 22 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 of 5 from three-point range. You know, Gia Cook only had 6 points. She was 2 of 6 from 3. Sydney Shaw with 10 and 7 rebounds tonight. Woodley had 2 points. Kimmy Wheeler played a really good game. Kiara Wheeler, played a really good game, especially late. She had that one big steal and then turned right around and got a really huge offensive rebound in the same possession that I thought might end up sealing the game for them. But unfortunately, they made too many mistakes down the stretch to where it ended up not winning it for them. But, man, she really played a good game tonight. Hats off to her. 11 points, 4 of 12 shooting the basketball with 9 rebounds. So those are your top performers. And for Texas Tech, your top performers were Let me pull them up here. Mopping. Bailey Moppin. Yeah, there it is. 27 points on 8 of 15 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3. She had a fantastic basketball game. What a talented basketball player she is. Boy, is she fun to watch. If she's not playing against your team, she's fun to watch. And she had 13. She had her 13 of her 27 came in the fourth quarter in winning time. The best players step up and play good at winning time, and that's exactly what Bailey Moppin did for Texas Tech. So hats off to her. Really good basketball game for her. And then Collins, Snuda Collins, 19 points in the total in the game to go along with 3 rebounds and no assists. But she did have a good game with 19 points, 1 of 2 from 3, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, 6 of 12 overall from the floor. So just a really, really good team win for Texas Tech. Tough loss for the Mountaineers. Mountaineer women's team had a chance to win the game, had a lead late, couldn't hold it. But what this showed me is that West Virginia's women can play with just about anybody in the Big 12. And, man, I still feel good that this team has a shot to win the league, but they've got to clean up their turnovers, and they've got to do a better job making free throws. Man, it's almost sounds like we're talking about the men's team for the last 4 years, doesn't it? 4, 5, 6 years. Make shots and quit turning it over. Story of basketball. Winning formula. But anyway, just want to touch a little bit on the women's. We don't talk about the women's team a whole lot on here, but this was a very important game, and I thought the ladies deserve some attention too. And I saw a lot of people have already dropped off. They don't want to hear about women's basketball, but you know what? That's okay. Appreciate those who have hung around. It's also kind of late. I get that too. T. Jink says, man, there are so many guys coming in. Oh, that's an earlier comment. Let me get down to the bottom of the chat here. Missed way too many layups and 2-foot baskets. That's absolutely true. WVU fan 13. Dime George says he can't get into it. Look, I'll be honest. I don't watch every game, but man, when I do watch it, I enjoy it. To be honest, most of the time I forget the game's even on. But you know, me being a girl dad and a former girls basketball coach myself, I do try my best to support them when I can. We just signed a starting guard from Kansas State. I think you're talking about in football. Yep. WVU fan 13. Yeah, shot to way too many threes. That's a great point. I want to bring that up. The last couple possessions, West Virginia comes down the court. They're winning the basketball game by like 3 points, 4 points, whatever it was. And they come down and they take a shot with like 20 seconds in the shot clock, man. Why do you do that? When you're winning the game with just a couple minutes left, play like you're winning, man. Run time off the clock. Go late into the shot clock. Don't settle. They settled for shot, and even I think Meg Bolger even mentioned it. Don't take those shots so early. Take your time. Be patient. And then Texas Tech came down and scored on the ensuing possession. That was a huge moment in that basketball game. Mark Aldridge says he don't like this era of paying players, which keeps you from retaining players. Money runs it now. Absolutely, man. No, I don't think any of us loyal. I don't want to say loyal. I don't think many of us longtime hardcore fans like this era, but unfortunately, this is where we are. WVU fan 13, this is talking football again. He says the fear is with what we have lost in the portal so far. Next season will be your 0.2, not 2.0, right? We cannot have another flood in the portal next year. We have to hit these evaluations and retain. Bingo. And I don't know if these players are signing 2-year deals, 1-year deals or what. Hopefully they're signing multi-year deals. But here's the thing. Just like we saw with the quarterback at Washington, he had his contract with Washington and he walked away from it anyway. So now Washington's likely going to turn around and sue him. Who will win? These court cases like this are going to go a long way in determining can players be bound to contracts if they're not employees of the university. That's going to be big, in my opinion. If they don't, then we might inch towards more. Now, can you even do collective bargaining at a university level? I don't know. I've talked to some people out there who don't think it's even possible, who don't think it's feasible. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know a ton about that world as far as labor laws and those types of things, but it may not be that easy to do that. Kenny Evans says it has to be an upgrade with Cook and Latimer at running back. I would hope so. Tennessee fans were salty, says Henry of Scallots, about losing Cam Cook. Yeah, I'd say they were, and they lost them to little old West Virginia in their mind, right? Tundra 1534 says, I was wondering that myself about Aiden Basell. I really thought last season he could have helped us. I know he stepped away, but hadn't heard anything else. Oh, I had forgot about him. Yeah, he stepped away from football. Not sure what happened there. Don't know if he's returned. I have not heard a word about him. Check my voicemail. I did, brother. I did, and I appreciate you reminding me. I got to call you back. I apologize about that, man. I really do. I did check it. I actually sent you an email on one of them because you can respond by email, but I guess it didn't come through or something on your end. But then you answered my question on your next one, and dude, I've been super busy lately, and I apologize. That's not an excuse. Say we were back to square one. Wish we could have retained or had a good core of players. Now we are behind the 8 ball. Yep, you're definitely right. Stargazing is fool's gold. And look what Indiana's done with a bunch of 3-star guys. Yep, what Kirk Cinetti's doing in it now. Look, Indiana does have a lot of money, but when you look at their talent rankings, they're like 70 something in the country. So it's not like they're taking their money and going and buying a bunch of 5-star guys. They're not doing that. They're going out and getting guys who fit what they do, and they're coaching them up. And the Kirk Cignetti is a master at doing it. Now every coach in the country is going to try to copy what he's doing. Can Rich Rod develop and his staff develop players anywhere close to what Kirk Cignetti's doing? We will obviously see over time. All right. That's about all I'm going to do. I am in a hotel, so I'll probably need to jump off of here. Thank you, WVU Fan 13. That would be awesome. Listen, email me at couz.walker@gmail, man. couz.walker@gmail. Leave me your phone number or something there, and then we'll talk. Or if you have, I don't know if you are on the Discord server that I set up a couple years ago for my VIP members. I don't use it a ton, but it's there. You can reach out to me through there as well. But let me know whichever route you go because I want to make sure I see it. Email would be the best way. couz.walker@gmail.com. Email me your number, and I'll get up with you. Not sure 100% if I can go yet, but we'll see. And I definitely appreciate the offer. Yep, WVU Fan 13, the women's team, they needed to drive the ball to the bucket, get the ball inside to Carter McRae, let Jordan Harrison cook inside. That's what they needed to do. They didn't do that. John Christophic's in the house. Thank you. All right, I'm going to jump off here. It's getting late. Thank you all for being with me tonight. Exciting day for the transfer portal as far as adding pieces of need. Some more exciting than others, obviously, but they need them all. And women's basketball team drops a heartbreaker in Morgantown to Texas Tech. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. God bless you. Q Country Roads.